What can we learn from CISA's new Zero Trust guidance on microsegmentation and what's missing? Welcome to our analysis. Just last week, CISA, the United States' Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, produced a new and really interesting document. It's part of what they call the Journey to Zero Trust series. This one is entitled Microsegmentation in Zero Trust, Part 1, Introduction and Planning. So first of all, this is like episode 4, right? This is part 1. So clearly there's going to be a part 2. And we're certainly looking forward to seeing that and getting some guidance on what's going to be in that. But let's focus on what's out there today. So this is definitely worth your read. It's not a super long document. It's about 20 or so pages, and it's very readable, not very highly technical, but it provides some really interesting guidance. I want to talk about three things, three important takeaways, and one thing that I think is missing, which is also really important. So the first is that they talk about microsegmentation, and in their world and their definition, and I believe this is a great way to talk about this, is microsegmentation is a straight line continuation of going from perimeter-based security, macro segmentation or coarse-grained network segmentation, which was very traditional, to this much more fine-grained microsegmentation type of approach that utilizes our favorite elements, right? Very fine-grained zero trust access policies based on context, based on identity, device posture, et cetera, et cetera. This is universal. So in their world, in their view, and I agree with this, microsegmentation is for both user to service access as well as service to service access. And the term microsegmentation is overloaded in our world. And very often when you talk about microsegmentation, and I'm guilty of this in the past, or when you talk about microsegmentation vendors, they tend to be focused strictly and narrowly on the east-west server to server use case. And that's fine. I think that many of those vendors, they have great technology. That is microsegmentation, but that's not the only limits of microsegmentation. So you can absolutely think about your journey as an enterprise toward better segmentation of your network on your journey to microsegmentation, or maybe nano segmentation, if that catches in the industry, for both your user to service as well as service to service access. Second takeaway is that they recommend a phased approach. And the phased approach they talk about is actually universally applicable to all of your zero trust initiatives. And that's really how we should read this. Again, this document on microsegmentation is widely applicable really to every zero trust project. And the third is they list some example scenarios in there, which are great. They have for an in-place migration. Let me look this up so I get it right. Re-architecting an on-premises enterprise, applying microsegmentation during a cloud migration, and then microsegmentation as part of a distributed enterprise with branches and traditional wide area networks or SD-WAN gluing them together. So those are really interesting scenarios. There's not enough detail in there to my satisfaction, but presumably there's a trade-off here of how long they wanted to make this document and what's going to be coming in part 2. So what's missing here? This is something that we have talked about here at Numberline a lot in our blueprint model. And what's missing is when they talk about this phased approach, they talk very thoughtfully about defining access policies and rolling them out area by area. But what's missing is a recognition that you can't just create access policies in a vacuum. You have to really understand what capabilities exist and don't exist in your environment. And you're going to have, of course, an access policy roadmap. You're also going to have a capability roadmap where you're going to be adding and improving and changing the set of security capabilities you have in your environment so that you'll get new things that you can do in your policy enforcement points. You may even get entirely new types of policy enforcement points in your environment. And when you get those capabilities, guess what? You can now utilize those capabilities in new or improved access policies. And you can't have an effective zero trust roadmap for your access policies without recognizing that there's interdependencies between the access policies that you plan for and execute and the set of capabilities of your environment. Because every single enterprise I work with has a certain set of capabilities on day one, and every single one wants and needs to deploy additional security capabilities, whether it's, hey, we want to move from VPN to ZTNA, we don't want to bring in a SASE vendor, we need to improve our deploy a PAM solution. So now we have privileged session management that we didn't before. These systems all provide additional capabilities that you absolutely need to include in your access policies. So that is missing. That's a big part of our blueprint. And I think it's something in the industry that we really need to adopt and embrace around understanding these roadmaps, how they're interdependent. So that's my thoughts on the CISA. I want to thank the folks at CISA for doing this. This is a really useful document. I do encourage everyone to read it. And if you want to talk more about us and explore a little bit more deeply about our blueprint and how we help organizations model and manage this roadmap and capability interdependencies, please reach out. Thank you. Have a great day and stay safe.